If you guys know me, you know I'm usually Mr. Positive, sunshine, rainbows. And I hate to be negative, especially during the preseason and at this point in the offseason, right? We're in the middle of August. But based on some things we saw last week in the preseason game and some things we've been hearing this week during practice, there's a chance that the Ravens might have a major problem on their hands for the 2025 NFL season. I'm going to tell you what that is in just a couple of seconds. Before that, though, let's check into our Week 2 preseason sub-battle. This one right against the Dallas Cowboys. Tom Downey and the Cowboys Report challenged us to a sub-battle this week, and they're currently on top 126 subs to 123 subs. The game on Saturday, that starts right here on the YouTube platform. If you want the Ravens to beat the Cowboys, and if you hate the Dallas Cowboys, today is your perfect day to hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about what everybody's talking about, okay? The Ravens people on Twitter, the offensive coordinator, the head coach. Is there a right guard problem for the Baltimore Ravens? Because as of right now, it's obvious that nobody is really emerging as the top option for the Ravens at right guard. Okay, and I'm not saying that there is an open competition, but still, I think throughout training camp, throughout the preseason, you want whatever guy you have in that starting role to emerge and be that top option and be that guy that everybody has confidence in. And unfortunately, at this current state in the year, I don't really have confidence in anybody in that spot, right? And we all know we're talking about Daniel Faalele, okay? I don't need to dance around it anymore. We got a lot to talk about him. And, the worst part about all of this is that Baltimore is convinced of Daniel Faalele. They are convinced he is the guy for the job. They are convinced that nobody can do that job on this team better than he can. And it's one thing to have a player who's not very good. It's another thing to have a player who's not very good, but that the organization is convinced he's some Hall of Famer or something. I don't understand it. And we all know the play we're talking about, right? Against the Colts in the preseason game, you could see him right there at that right guard spot just get absolutely bull rushed, pushed over to the ground, and of course, that resulted in a sack. Now, you might be saying, Joey, he could be going up against an all-pro, future Hall of Fame interior defensive tackle. He wasn't. He was going up against Adebawore. I don't know. 26 games played in his career, only 12 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and 4 tackles for loss. Now, that's no disrespect to him, but I want to kind of frame our minds to say he wasn't going against that good of a player. He wasn't going against a guy who's going to start in 2025. He was going up against a second stringer, maybe even a third stringer. And I know what Todd Monken said. Okay, we actually talked about it yesterday on the show. I'm going to show you the quote. We're going to talk about it again today. And I get his sentiment. It makes sense to me. And I get that he's already talked about this play and he doesn't like people talking about it. But it's still worth showing. It's worth discussing because this is a legitimate problem. Todd Monken spoke to the media and he said it was one play. That was one example. I can't imagine any of us having one example of something that's in our life. That's who they are. That's the silliest stuff I've ever heard in my life. It's just the way it is. It's the world we live in, right? It's the world we live in. The thing is, with Daniel Faalele, it's not just one play. It's not. Sure, the one play that everybody's talking about, the one play that I just showed you, that's poor. But it's not just that that's frustrating people. They're not just frustrated that he got bulldozed. One play. They're frustrated that he's continually showing to be below average. Preseason, 61.8 overall grade, 63.5 pass block, 51.8 run block. He was supposed to take a really big step over this offseason, and he didn't do it. Because last year, it's the same numbers. 60.5 for the season, 58.5 pass block for the season, 63.2 run block for the season. And I'm not selling all my Daniel Faalele stock because of one preseason game, because of one preseason play. But I still think it's worth the conversation because it could turn into a really big problem come late December, early January, come playoff time, And I don't want to look back at August and just say this is something we brushed under the rug, shrugged our shoulders at, and said, oh well, we'll see how it plays out. Do you think he should be the starter? Give me yes or no in the comment section down below. It's hard, okay? And I know there's a lot of polarizing opinions on this, and there's a lot of differing opinions on it. I want to hear where you stand in the comment section down below. I'm just confused, like, why Baltimore is so sold. Again, that's the biggest part I'm trying to get across right here. Not that I don't like him, but I'm just confused why Baltimore loves him as much as they do. You hear John Harbaugh talk about him. You heard Todd Monken talk about him. You heard Rashad Bateman talk about him. Sure, they were college teammates, but still, like, it seems everybody in that organization, from Eric DeCosta all the way down to the Water Boys, feel so strongly about Daniel Faalele being the guy. Like, in my opinion, at least give Ben Cleveland a shot. Give him a shot. It's preseason. These games don't matter. Put him out there with the starters. See what he can do. He's been a veteran depth piece for this team for years. Let him try to win that starting job. It seems like they're not even wanting to give him that opportunity. Faalele, he fits what Greg Roman liked to do. He's more of a gap scheme type fit, right? Todd Monken runs his offense in a totally different way than Greg Roman. And we can praise the Lord for that, right? But he likes to run his offense in space. And I don't know if you remember back to the Philadelphia game. We'll pull up those stats in just a couple seconds. But Daniel Faalele doesn't look that great in space. He just doesn't. I mean, do you remember how bad he looked against the Eagles? 48.5 overall grade, 39.6 run block grade. He was absolutely dominating. Sure, they got an elite interior defense. But this is an elite team. When you get to the playoffs, if you get to the Super Bowl, you're going to be playing teams with elite interior defensive linemen. That's how this sport goes. That's how this league works. It also just sucks that Emry Jones is injured too. Like, that sucks. You spent a high draft pick on him, third rounder to be exact, and you at least wanted him to compete for the job, and he's not even able to do that because of his injury. So now you're just kind of stuck in this place where I don't know if there's anywhere to go. I don't know if you can win a Super Bowl with that weak of a link on the interior, right? Because like I just said, when you're in the playoffs, you're going to have to face Chris Jones and the Chiefs. If you make it to the Super Bowl, there's a chance you're going to have to face Jalen Carter and the Eagles. Do you know how many elite interior defensive linemen are across the league? They're a dime a dozen. And he just got bulldozed, bull rushed, and put on his ass by a second stringer for the Colts. Coming up, we got some free agent options because we can't just complain about this. We have to figure out how are we going to fix this. Okay, how are we going to make this better? So I got three guys I want to show you in just a little bit. Before that, I want to show you something even better. A $34 Baltimore Ravens hoodie. $34 for a Baltimore Ravens hoodie. Chatsports.com/purple hoodie. That's the link to take advantage of this deal. I put it in the comments for you. I also put it in the description for you. So you can just go down right below this video, click on that link. It'll take you there. I know Christmas is still 4 months away, 4.5 months away. But hey, if you got a son, a husband, a brother, a father, a cousin, a sister, aunt, I don't care who you have. If they're a Ravens fan, they're going to love this come Christmas time. Why don't you just do some early Christmas shopping? Because by the time Christmas rolls around, it's not going to be $34, okay? Chatsports.com/purple hoodie. We're going to roll through these, okay? Brandon Scherff is my top available free agent guard. Played 17 games last year with the Jaguars. Did not allow a single sack the entirety of that season. He's a guy who's played a lot of football in his day. He's a veteran offensive lineman. And I just think at this point, right, I'm not calling Brandon Scherff to get signed and be the starter. I just want any of these guys to possibly come in here and compete for the role and see if we can find something better off the street. Brandon Scherff seems like he could be that guy. Shaq Mason is another name we need to talk about, okay? Now, you're going to see this stat. 15 games played last year, 8 sacks allowed. That's bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That was awful. He did not have a very good season last year with Houston. But Houston, just as a whole, had one of the worst offensive lines in the league, okay? And Shaq Mason, that was his worst season by far. The years prior to that, he actually was a pretty solid interior offensive lineman. And so, I have a feeling if you get him on a team surrounded by other really good offensive linemen like Roger Rosengarten, Ronnie Stanley, Tyler Linderbaum, and sandwich him in between Roger Rosengarten and Tyler Linderbaum, he could actually kind of get back to the form that he had in his first couple seasons in the National Football League. And I think last year with the Texans was an outlier just because of how bad their offensive line as a whole was. Finally, last up, Cody Whitehair. This is one I wouldn't be too jazzed about. But again, I'm not calling these guys to be signed to be starters. I'm calling these guys to be signed to give Daniel Faalele a little bit of competition for that starting spot. 6'3", 316 pounds. Played only 9 games last year with the Raiders. Didn't allow a single sack in those 9 games. But regardless, just give me somebody that can compete. It's obvious that they don't want Ben Cleveland competing for this role, because if they did, then we'd be hearing a little bit more about how it's an open competition. Because when you're playing the way Daniel Faalele has been, you kind of assume it should be an open competition, and it's just not. So maybe one of these guys, it would be, okay? Who should Baltimore sign? You let me know in the comment section down below. If you think it's Scherf, type BS. If you think it's Mason, type SM. And if you think it's Cody Whitehair, go ahead, give me a CW. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in to today's show. My name is Joey Petersen. You've been watching the Ravens Rundown. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you subscribe. We'll see you next time.